Hello students, welcome to this video. My name is Faby Fitzgerald, and in today's class I will be talking to you about a common sentence fault. Fragments. Fragments are a part of a sentence that, a dependent clause acting as a sentence itself. We know that a dependent clause does not make sense by itself, but sometimes we use them as whole sentences, and they are called fragments. I have 3 examples here on the board, and I will be explaining to you one by one, all right? The first one says, I have 3 sisters. One of them is a doctor. I have 3 sisters, period. New sentence. One of them is a doctor, period. The fragment of this sentence would be, one of them is a doctor. Because as you can see, it is a dependent clause acting as a whole sentence. So it does not make sense. And what we can do to fix or repair this error, we take away the period and we could add a semicolon. Obviously not capitalize this one. Use a small o. I have 3 sisters, semicolon. One of them is a doctor. So we got rid of the fragment, joining it to the first whole sentence. Remember that a sentence must have a subject and must have a predicate. If it doesn't have one of those, either of those, it will not make sense. One of them is a doctor. You're like, one of what? What are you talking about? It doesn't make sense by itself. I have 3 sisters makes sense by itself. So we will join this sentence here to this sentence here. Or you could just add a subject. One of, instead of saying them, you could say one of my sisters. One of my sisters. Then we would have a coherent subject. One of my sisters is a doctor, period. Now it makes sense. But since it says one of them is a doctor, it doesn't make sense. All right? Next one. We have to abolish pollution. We have to finish pollution. We have to abolish pollution. It is the main cause of global warming. As you can see, this right here is a perfect sentence. It has a subject, it has a verb, and it makes sense. We have to abolish pollution, period. It is the main cause of global warming. You could take away the period here, add a comma, and use a small I. It is the main cause of global warming. Or you could also do this, because you could add a conjunction. We have to abolish pollution. I'll just write it here. Because it is the main cause of global warming. So as you can see here, you can get rid of fragments by joining the fragment to the full sentence that precedes it or that follows it. I have 3 sisters, semicolon. One of them is a doctor. We have to abolish pollution. You could also add a comma and a conjunction, because it is the main cause of global warming. The last one. They offer many courses in our school, such as first aids and nursery. They offer many courses in our school, period. This makes perfect sense. So this is our independent clause or our principal clause. And this here does not make sense by itself. So it is a subordinate or a dependent clause, such as first aids and nursery. It doesn't make sense. So can we add a conjunction? They offer many courses in our school, and no but, so no, I don't think so. So what we are going to do here is add a semicolon, such as, comma, first aids and nursery. Obviously, this has to be lowercase. So this is the way you get rid of fragments. So before you start writing, or when you are writing, read through the sentences and make sure they have a subject, they have a verb, and they make sense. Because if they don't have a subject, a verb, or don't make sense, you will have a lot of these fragments to correct. Okay, thanks for watching. Now we are going to practice a little bit. We have 4 examples here on the board, and you are going to help me to fix these sentences and get rid of the fragments in the sentences. The first one says, I have done this many times. I have done this many times. Period. It only looks hard. Period. Well, this is a fragment. Why? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense on its own. It only looks hard. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a comma. Get rid of the period. Add a lowercase I. I have done this many times. It only looks hard. Or you could also add a conjunction after the comma. I have done this many times and it only looks hard. Either way, it would be correct. Okay, next one. When we finish high school, period. As soon as you see that sentence, you can see it's not a sentence. It's a fragment. When we finish high school, period. When we finish high school, what? It does not make sense. So we will study a bachelor's in marketing. That one makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So what we are going to do here is take away the period and add a comma. And use a lowercase w. When we finish high school, comma, we will study a bachelor's in marketing. All right? And the next one. We could help her, period, if she wanted to, period. So this here, if she wanted to, it's a fragment. Because you can see we're using if, so it's part of a conditional. We could help her if she wanted to. So we could just take away the period, use a lowercase I. We could help her if she wanted to. And you don't necessarily have to add a comma or a semicolon or a conjunction, because this itself makes a perfectly coherent and full sentence. We could help her if she wanted to. All right, the next one. We love to read books, period. They are interesting, period. Do you think this makes sense? They are interesting. Well, we have they, our subject, are, our verb, interesting, the complement. It could be, but it doesn't make perfect sense because we don't know what is interesting. So, we love to read books. We could add a comma, and then we could add a conjunction, because and use a lowercase t. We love to read books because they are interesting. So this is the way you get rid of fragments, a very, very common error on writing a sentence. Okay, so next I will leave you some homework because I need you to practice in order to improve your English. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Faby Fitzgerald and I hope you enjoy it. For homework, you are going to write 4 fragments of a sentence or 4 dependent clauses and then correct them to make them a full and coherent sentence. Remember, a sentence must have a subject, must have a predicate, and it must most definitely make sense. If you have a workbook, just go ahead and do your homework in your workbook. And if you don't, please leave your homework in the comment section below this video, along with any comment, suggestion, or question you may have. I'll be more than happy to read those. And thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in my next video. Would you like to watch my next video? Click on the television to the right. To you about the comma link, also known as the comma splice. It is a very common error.